guys, and welcome to this week's edition of the Coffee and Heroes Show, coming to you a day late. My apologies. But yeah, yesterday we had a couple of late customers in the store. I usually like to close at 5 on a Tuesday, and then that gives me a good 45 minutes before they have to kick us out of here, where I can record stuff. But yeah, a couple of late customers yesterday, a nice busy day, so I had to hold it back to today. But to be honest, it actually works out well that it's today, because today, Wednesday, 1st of June, marks exactly 5 years since the store opened its doors. You know, it's both been a long journey and a really quick journey. You know, it's flown by in some ways, but there's been a lot of hard work has went into the place, a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears. Not literally, of course, we wouldn't want to damage the books. But yeah, it's been a long process to get to this point. You know, obviously starting off in the smaller store, which was half the size of this one. I look back at the photos of the opening day, and the lack of stock on the shelves was remarkable. But, you know, you had to start somewhere, and, you know, we obviously set out to, you know, expand the store as we went. And that was a gradual process between obviously getting the huge comic lot, between moving into a larger premises, moving to another premises due to leaks in the last one. It's certainly been an experience. You know, you throw in the challenges faced by lockdown as well, and not being able to open, and, you know, the comic industry stopping for a little while, and this and that. And so there were a few hairy moments, a few scary moments, but loads of joyful moments. You know, it's it's been the experience of a lifetime opening this store, and, you know, growing the community that we've grown. You know, we've come to make so many great friends. We're so fortunate that people walk through the door and like what we do, and that there's a market for this stuff, and, you know, the fandom has embraced us, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, a massive, sincere and heartfelt thanks to every single person who walks through the door. You know, we're going to be more celebrating this milestone next weekend. We obviously have the Ram-B signing you're probably bored hearing me harp on about. But we're going to be running a promotion or two as well on the Friday and the Saturday. I'll be announcing that on social media in the next couple of days. So definitely keep an eye out for that. It'll be something akin to what we did on Free Comic Book Day, but details are under wraps for now. But as ever, I'll keep you guys informed. So just keep an eye on the social media channels, and we'll certainly put that out there. Now, obviously, I didn't get to record yesterday, but I did get to record a podcast last night. We're endeavoring to have new content every Wednesday on the podcast network, which of course you can find through SoundCloud, you know, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's just under the Coffee and Heroes podcast. So what I did was I did the previews podcast last night. I was flying solo. Keith is off on a well-deserved holiday. But yeah, we went through the latest books arrived this week. They're in store. These are the June books for releases due mostly for August, but there are a few advanced solicitations for things due further down the line. So I'll be releasing that shortly after I release this as well, so you can certainly check that out. I mean, with these things, again, just if you do like them, please do like and subscribe them. You know, it does help grow the channel, both podcast and YouTube. It does hopefully get it out to a wider audience. And I mean, these are just resources. It's the main reason we do it. It's to keep you guys up to date with what's happening in the store, what's coming out, you know, throwing in the odd bit of TV and movie news that obviously appeals to us. But they're just a resource. You know, this is not a money maker by any stretch of the imagination. It's just more a case of wanting to, you know, there's so much content that comes out. There's so many books get released. There's so many TV shows. There's so many movies. It's just nice to have a little place where, you know, it's all collected into one, and, you know, we try our best to keep you guys informed. So, yeah. So, as I say, if you do enjoy it, spread the word and, you know, pass it on to people. So, yeah. But yeah, store-wise, it's, again, been a nice busy week so far. It was a quieter week last week. I think it was sort of the middle of the month sort of come down, so to speak. But, you know, this week started really, really busy. Loads of great titles in. Pull lists, of course, are all ready to go and be picked up. I'd mentioned before just about pull lists. If there's any changes you want to make or anything you're not enjoying or whatever, just do get in touch with us and let us know. You know, we'll always hold for as long as we can, but there are a couple of pull lists that have just been a bit too long, to be honest. So there is that. I've been topping up the graphic novels quite a lot, even throughout the week, even beyond what I've got here. You know, topping up those Walking Deads again, as I say, and topping up a lot of stuff. Of course, we have that new Image First section. If you haven't been in, just lots of number ones there if you want to try something new. I'm going to be moving things around in the next week or so. Shock horror, I know. I've almost finished the behind the scenes DC stuff, so I'm hoping to move the DC section into the middle of the store either towards the end of this week or at the start of next week. And then I'll be moving a few different sections around and so forth. So just keeping you guys on your toes, as they say. So yeah, store's all good. You know, Vicky's all good. People are always asking how she's getting on. We're just under 7 weeks away now from the due date. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to revealing the name to everybody. Everybody's so anxious to know. It's quite fun. But everyone's happy and healthy. You know, no complications so far. So hopefully that continues. So yeah, that's everything with regards to that. So in terms of sort of a little bit of TV and movie news and bits and pieces, there were a couple of good comic announcements this week as well as just throwing in a few other bits and pieces of entertainment. I mean, the first thing just to throw out, obviously last weekend was a big weekend for releases in the TV and movie world. You had Obi-Wan launch, you had Stranger Things launch. I haven't seen either of them. I hope to get to them this week. But what I did see was Top Gun Maverick in the cinema. I went to the IMAX cinema, Vicky and I, on Saturday night. And holy crap, what a movie. Absolutely phenomenal. Go see it in IMAX if you can. All of the flight sequences are shot in IMAX. They're long sequences, and honestly, it's, excuse the really bad Top Gun pun, but it really will take your breath away. It is a fantastic movie. And, you know, I say this as someone who owns a comic book store. It was nice to watch a big budget action blockbuster that wasn't superhero related, and it's probably the first one I've enjoyed as much as that probably since Tom Cruise's last movie, Mission Impossible Fallout. So yeah, can't recommend it enough. It is absolutely brilliant, you know, heartfelt, nostalgic, fresh, funny, and the action is really, really incredible. Over the weekend as well, I think I'm still recovering from it. There was AEW's event, Double or Nothing, so of course that's, you know, my one-man advertisement show here, but great pay-per-view that was fortunate enough to sit with a couple of friends. Again, friends I made through the store, you know, guys I didn't know a couple of years ago, and you know, it's great that fandom just unites people so well. So yeah, I set up to 5:30 in the morning watching that, so Monday was an experience. Getting too old for this, but yeah, really, really good pay-per-view experience, so highly recommend that as well. But yeah, Top Gun Maverick, I mean, it ended up #1 worldwide. It's Tom Cruise's biggest opening of his entire career, and it's actually being seen a little bit as a movie that's starting to jumpstart cinema a little bit, which is good to see. But in terms of comic type stuff, there were a couple of announcements that definitely stood out. I mean, one of the first one is that Joe Quesada, who was an executive and former editor-in-chief, leaves Marvel Comics. Now, he had been at Marvel for 20 years. You know, he worked with Jimmy Palmiotti. He came to Marvel in the late 90s. He was the artist on Daredevil. He pretty much spearheaded the Marvel Knights, the mature Marvel line. He was chief creative officer in 2010. And yeah, he was a big part of the success of Marvel Comics in the last number of decades. Jeez, a long time. But he oversaw a lot of big initiatives. You know, the sort of One More Day, the controversial Spider-Man story, if you will, that, you know, allowed for a soft reboot and allowed to attract new readers. You know, as I say, rolled out Marvel Max, which gave an older audience a nice line of comics to do. You know, he took risks on creators such as like Brian Michael Bendis, Michael Avon-Oemi, and a lot of other people who didn't really fit the traditional Marvel style, the Marvel house style, but they were allowed to, you know, prove themselves, and their work flourished as a result. So it'll be interesting to see who he goes on with. You know, one thing that Quesada is widely credited for, which is really important to the comic industry, was his championing of collected editions being the end game. You know, some people criticize the value in single issues of a comic because you're writing with the mentality of think of the trade, think of the whole story. But, you know, the graphic novel allowed the wider audience to embrace comics. You know, we have so many readers who come in here who you couldn't push a free issue onto, you know, a free single issue. But they love trades, they love having the story all in one place. And Quesada was a big pusher of that, you know, collected editions, omnibuses, all that kind of stuff. So interesting to see where he pitches up next. I do find it interesting that this happened not long after Frank Miller announced his initiative, because he's very much from that same school of thought as well. A couple of bits of DC. You have DC relaunching Batman Incorporated. Batman Incorporated was an event that was launched by Grant Morrison in the aftermath of Final Crisis. It was essentially Bruce Wayne coming out to the public and not saying he is Batman, but saying that he funds Batman. And he was going to fund a Batman in every country in the world and go from there. So there's going to be a new title for that coming back. It's only ever been written by Morrison, but that's not the case this time. Ed Brisson writing, John Timms on art. So it's going to be launched in October. So of course this came out a little bit later than the previews book, so it won't be in that. This will be later on in the year. So they recently got re-shown in Batman 118. Joshua Williamson brought Batman Inc. back, so I sort of thought something was building. And then this week, the Batman 2022 annual, is apparently laying the foundations for this Batman title. So if it sounds like something that interests you, I'd really recommend picking up that annual this week. There was also a trailer released for Batman Failsafe, which of course is the upcoming Chip Zdarsky, Jorge Jimenez run that's going to kick off in Batman 125. If you don't, I've said it before, if you don't follow Chip Zdarsky's email blast, it's worth signing up for. He had some great announcements with this, but yeah, July 5th for Batman 125, and again, just the perfect jumping on point for people if they want to jump into that. For all you Harley fans out there as well, they're getting ready to celebrate 30 years of Harley Quinn, believe it or not. And they're going to be doing a monthly event in that there's going to be a new issue of Harley Quinn released every week. So it's going to be from Harley Quinn 18 to 21 and then have the Harley Quinn annual. And it's written by Stephanie Phillips. And there's 2 different artists on it, George Duarte and Simon Buonfantino. And again, it's going to be a weekly release. So if you're already on Harley Quinn, of course, we'll have you set up for that. They are doing some really cool homage covers for it. Homaging things like Batman #1, homaging things like Robin's first appearance, homaging the Killing Joke, that kind of thing. And they're all free to order variants, so definitely keep an eye out for those. And we can certainly get them in if necessary. So, yeah, a few wee bits and pieces there. As I say, I'm looking forward to trying to get in the Obi-Wan and Stranger Things this weekend. Just obviously a lot going on at the moment with regards to, the anniversary celebrations and the signing next week and everything else. So, looking forward to getting onto that. I mean, I'm sure when the wee man comes along, I'll have all the time in the world doing night feeds and, I'll have plenty of time to watch all these shows. I just won't have time to sleep. But that's that. I'm going to introduce a new element to the show this week. And I think I'm pretty happy with it as an idea because, again, we obviously do podcasts for previews. We have the previews board in store. We have the previews books in store. But it's just about getting that information out there as much as possible to people for what's coming out. So what I'm going to do every week is whatever the current previews books are, I'm going to pick out one title from each and recommend it to you and let you know about it and when it's coming out and so forth. So 3 different books as always. You've got your Marvel book, your DC book, and your main previews book. If I go into the Marvel book, the main place to start is definitely the celebration of 60 years of Spider-Man. So what we've got here is Amazing Fantasy 1000. So this is going to be a celebration of all things Spider-Man. Obviously made his first appearance, Amazing Fantasy 15. It's an absolute murderer's row of talent involved in this. You've got Neil Gaiman, you've got Jonathan Hickman, you've got John Slott, you've got Kurt Busiek, Rainbow Powell, Olivier Coipel, John Romita Jr., Michael Cho, Jim Chang, Goran Parloff, an absolute beast of a lineup there. It's going to be a 72-page one-shot. Again, celebrating 60 years of Spidey. There will be variant covers as well. We'll just have to check the details on those in terms of what's free to order, which ones are ratios, for example. But if you're a Spider-Man fan, I highly recommend that. Again, these are the previews book for stuff coming out in August. So again, get your pre-orders in for that. Next up from the DC book, it can only be one thing, and of course it's Batman. I apologize, but I don't really apologize. And it's a new series of prestige one-shots, which are going to be called Batman One Bad Day. Every one of them is going to focus on a different villain. They're going to be 64-page square-bound specials, and it's going to have a different creative team on each one. So it's launching with The Riddler by Tom King and Mitch Dread, so powerhouse team there. To give you an idea of the lineup of the villains, you've got Riddler, Two-Face, the Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, Bane, Clayface, and Ra's al Ghul. So each time it's going to be monthly. They are going to link together, I suppose, but at the same time, they are one-shots. So if there's only certain villains you like the sound of, or only certain creative teams you like the sound of, just let us know and we'll make sure you get those ones. Or if you want to sign up for the entire line of One Bad Day titles, we can make sure you don't miss a single one. So that is from the DC book. And from the indie book, again, there's one that really does stand out from the start, and it's from Image Comics, and it's from friend of the store, Declan Shalvey. This is a new title called Old Dog. This is going to be a series through Image Comics. Dec is both writing and drawing this. And he's got some cool people in for variant covers, Marcos Martin, for example, Kevin Nolan. And they showed off a preview for this in the Image Anthology, celebrating 30 years of Image. Geez, Image and Harley Quinn came along in the same year. What a year. But yeah, Jack Lynch was a once promising CIA operative. On the eve of retirement, looking back at a failed career, he is tasked with one final mission that goes horribly wrong. He wakes years later to a changed world and deeper changes within him. When a shadow group offers Lynch a second chance at a life of adventure, he's paired with the last person he could ever imagine. In order to adjust this, Old Dog will have to learn some new tricks. I mean, Dec even came up with a new genre for this, which is called Spy-Fi. So I'm on board for this. There's some great preview art in the books in store. So definitely get that one on your pull list. That is slated for August 24th. So plenty of time to get your pre-orders in on that. So again, the previews books are always in store. They're always sitting up at the counter. You know, come in, grab them, have a little look. They are store copies only. I get asked all the time, oh, this says free, can I take it? They are store copies only, but you're free to look through them to your heart's content in said store. So yeah, that is the preview side of things. As I say though, for a more detailed look at the previews books, we will be going live not long after this with the previews podcast. So on to the good stuff that came in this week. Variant covers, what's on my pull list, a little bit of everything. I mean, it's a little bit of a lighter week for the variant covers, and it's a lighter week in general for releases. I mean, a lot of that is down to the fact that it pretty much fell on a 5-week release month. I know it's the 1st of June, but in terms of shipping, and therefore there's a lot of annuals this week. There's a lot of one-shots, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, what we have in terms of variant covers. So first of all, we have the new issue of We Have Demons this week, which is the Scott Snyder Greg Capullo series, creator owned, and this is a Dark Horse Comics. And this one, the only reason it's a variant really, hopefully it comes across there, is that foil embossed logo. So a couple of those in. It's $1 dearer than the main title. Otherwise, it's the exact same book. It's actually the same cover. It's just the logo that's different, but that's the first one up. Next up, we have Action Comics, the 2022 annual. I expect these to go pretty fast because everybody loves a good homage cover. And this is by Steve Rude, and of course is an homage all the way back to Superman's first appearance. So yeah, a nice updating of that, beautiful sort of painterly style as well. Next up, we have an absolutely insane cover from Chris Burnham. This is for the Batman 2022 annual. The amount of characters and detail in this is nuts. There's loads of little cameos in the background from Batman Inc. characters as well. It's quite a violent cover. So this is the Chris Burnham variant cover for Batman 2022 annual as well. I'm a big fan of Chris Burnham. I mean, he was one of the main artists in Batman Inc. going back along with Frank Whiteley. Next up, a slightly more classic looking cover. This is for Shadow War Omega, which this culminates the whole Shadow War title. So Joshua Williamson's a miniseries, of course, running through Robin, Batman, and Deathstroke Inc. And this one is by Mikel Janin. So again, a little bit more of a classic feel to this one. But again, really striking colours, and Mikel Janin always draws a great Batman. The only other two that came in are both incentive covers, so they are a little bit more expensive. So Miles Morales 38 has a first appearance in it, which I believe is a character called Spider Smasher. And we've got two variants for it. We've got the 1 to 10 variant and we've got the 1 to 25 variant. Now I've priced both of these lower than what you can currently find them for on eBay, for example. So first of all, you've got the 1 to 10 Miles Morales, which is the 1 to 10 retailer incentive design cover. So this is the new character and this is the design format. So this is the 1 to 10. We've got this priced at £12. The cheapest I've seen on eBay is 15. So again, we always try to come in a little bit under what it's currently going for out there. The other one is by Sergio Davia. This is a 1 to 25. So for every 25 of cover A that's printed, there's one of these. So again, retailer incentive cover for you here. And with this one, we've got it priced at £25. Now, and the cheapest I saw one sell, I think on Tuesday, a pre-order sale for £35. So again, we try our best to come under in that. I've actually got a few ratio variants I'm going to label up today from releases from the last few weeks. And I'm going to put them on the wall close to the new releases. So there will be a few more of those up there as well. They're not labeled yet, hence why they're not on the show. But I will be putting those up later today as I say. I'll get to those hopefully at some point today. In terms of stuff coming in as well, it's an order where there's some really top titles that have only come out this week. But the majority of what I've ordered here is with anticipation for the Ram signing. So I wanted to make sure I get as many of his titles in as possible. Ram is a very diverse writer in that I think each title is very different and he does a little bit of something for everyone, whether it's Marvel, DC or Indie, and that's what's so great about him, he's so versatile. But we'll kick things off with a couple of new releases in this week. So first of all, we have Batman Reptilian. So nice hardcover. This is Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp. This is one of the single weirdest Batman titles I've ever read. The first couple of issues are proper dark, detective, grimy city, Almost would make you think of Mega City 1 a little bit. But by the end, it turns into a kaiju type book. It's nuts. As you'd expect from Garth Ennis, but it's very well written. The art is gorgeous. And again, it's a very different Batman story to what you might expect. Next up, we have Superman, Son of Kal-El, Volume 1, The Truth. So again, a lovely homage cover there, going all the way back to Superman #1. With this one, I mean, I love Superman, Son of Kal-El. It seems to generate a bit of controversy. Tom Taylor seems to have to defend it nearly every issue that comes out, because obviously they've made Jonathan Kent bisexual in it. I have no problem with that. It's a new character. His sexuality has never been explored. Comics should be inclusive, as long as they're well written and it's not a token gesture. And it is well written. It's brilliantly written. As ever, I mean, we're huge fans of Tom Taylor, as we always say. But on this as well, you've got John Timms on art, and his art style is fantastic. And again, lovely hardcover with this one, with Jonathan stepping up to the plate now that Clark is off-world in Phil Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics. Little top-ups this week for the Magic Order, Volume 2, so Mark Millar and Stuart Immonen. So this was the complete Volume 2. So yeah, you just have to be careful with Magic Order. They're not making it easy on themselves, and they're certainly not making it easy on us. So they just keep being called the Magic Order, and then this has got a small number 2 on the side and a small book 2 here. When this was released in single issue form, it was called the Magic Order 2, whereas now it's just called the Magic Order. So it is genuinely the second volume there. Next up, we have Black Widow, Die by the Blade. So this was the next volume of the Kelly Thompson Black Widow run, art by Rafael de la Torre and Elena Casagrande. This covers issues 11 to 15. We've got the 2 trades for issues 1 to 10 on the shelves as well. This has been a great run as well. So bittersweet. Second last volume of Deadly Class arrives this week. So A Fond Farewell Part 1. A Fond Farewell Part 2 is going to be the end of Deadly Class. I'm not ready for it. You're probably bored listening to me about it. Tough. It is awesome. Deadly Class is such a book. And again, we're up to Volume 11. That series is going to cap off at Volume 12. Back in stock, because it sells out every time we get it in, is the Moon Knight, Jeff Lemire, Greg Smallwood, Jordi Belair complete collection. So this collects Moon Knight 1 to 14. A story of birth, death, and rebirth unlike any other. Very, very highly regarded, this run. And again, every time we get it in, it just seems to sell out pretty much straight away. So yeah, on to the RAM side of things, and I have another 6 new titles in this week. So again, these will all be for sale the weekend that the signing is on. So first of all, we've got the Swamp Thing Becoming. We talk a lot about this on the podcast as well. Ram V, Mike Perkins, Mike Spicer on colors. And this has been a wonderful reinterpretation of Swamp Thing, with Levi Kamai taking over the Swamp Thing mantle from Alec Holland. Beautiful artwork, great horror imagery, amazing colors, brilliant character work. I really can't recommend that enough. Next up, we've got Venom Recursion, which of course is volume 1 of the relaunch for Venom after Donny Cates and Rand Stegman's time on the title. This is a collaboration between Al Ewing and Ram V, and then Brian Hitch on art for this one as well. And this has been a bit of a slow burner by comparison to Swamp Thing, I would say. But I have really enjoyed it. It's very much a nice counterpoint to the all-action, over-the-top shenanigans of Cates and Stegman's Venom. It's a little bit more character-based, but jumps into Dylan a lot more. It jumps into, Eddie trying to be a father. Yeah, really liking that so far. The next one is one that I haven't personally read, but I will be before next weekend. And this is a title called Paradiso. Now, there's 2 volumes of Paradiso, so we've got them both in. So for Paradiso, it's a cataclysmic event remembered only as the Midnight, led to the collapse of civilization. Now, centuries after, the remnant of a megacity named Paradiso is the only place on Earth where humanity still thrives. When Jack Krasnan arrives at the outskirts with a mysterious device capable of bringing dead technology to life, his arrival sets off a power struggle that threatens to embroil the human settlers, bionic creatures known as Guardians, and Paradiso herself. Jack and his companions will begin their journey of self-discovery through this living city, even as the city itself strives to understand what it means to be alive. I mean, to give you an idea, the blurbs on the back of this are from Kieran Gillen, Declan Shelby, and Trad Moore. So Casper Weingard, Ram O'Sullivan as well. So I'm definitely going to be reading that before Ram comes in, because it's the only Ram book I have not actually read. Next up, we have Blue and Green. Again, I have waxed lyrical about this for a long time. Ram V, Anand RK on this one. It's a mixture of horror, love of music, a story of unfulfilled talent, the pressures of that sort of prodigious talent. Wonderful book. I mean, just flicking through it here alone just makes me really want to read it again. I remember coming back from Thought Bubble and I read it for a second time. And, you know, given everything that I have to read, I very seldom go back to things a second time so shortly after they've come out. But this was an absolute must, and I'm a big fan. Next up is a hardcover, also from the same team as Blue and Green, and this is actually an expanded edition. This is called Graffiti's Wall. So again, this is from Ram V and Anand RK. And yeah, this was awesome. 4 kids in Mumbai are brought together by circumstances at a broken down wall, one that will become a canvas for their picture of lives in a place that both inspires and oppresses indiscriminately and in equal measure. Again, an absolutely wonderful book, glorious art on this one, lots of great character work, a lot of humor in it as well, which was great. And it's wonderful as always to read something that has a slightly different setting than your traditional Americas, New Yorks, LAs, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely wonderful title, which is Graffiti's Wall. And then we have 2 then to finish. We have Rick Grimes 2000 from Robert Kirkman and Ryan Ottley. So this was first collected in Skybound X, which was essentially a celebration of Image titles where they told new stories. And they told this one, which was Rick Grimes 2000. So Rick Grimes was a small town police officer, then the word fell to The Walking Dead. But the Dead were only the start and a new tale of alien horror begins here. This was sort of a response to back when Robert Kirkman had said about, oh, don't worry, aliens come along in this, I promise. And this is sort of exploring that idea. And then just to finish off, it is a big boy. Oh, that is heavy. The Death and Return of Superman Omnibus. This is a weighty tome. Look at the size of that. You know, put it by my mug for comparison. But yeah, this is the epic event that shocked the nation and changed Superman forever. This contains so much stuff. You know, you've got the storyline from Action Comics and the annual Adventures of Superman, Green Lantern issues, Justice League America issues, the Man of Steel, all kinds of stuff, and also features bonus materials including a sketchbook section and previously unpublished art as well. So this went out of print really quickly last time it got released, so I think a lot of people are very happy that it's back in print. So that is what is new in this week. We will go on as ever from here to what is on my pull list. Yeah, as I say, there's a lot of one-shots this week, a lot of annuals, things like that. But don't worry, I more than put my amounts up by variant covers and so forth. Don't be looking at this box thinking this is my entire pull list. I only took half of last week's home with me. So there's still some of last week's titles in there. But this will all be coming home with me tonight. So this week we have Batman 2022 Annual. I spoke about it a little bit before in the little news section, talking about how Batman Inc. is going to be coming back, for example. And this is clearly laying the groundwork for it. So Ed Brisson's writing this, so it makes sense. He's taken over Batman Inc. And then it's John Timms on art, who's been doing great stuff on Superman, Son of Kal-El. So that'll be a great jumping on point if you're thinking of the Batman Inc. title. We also have Justice League Road to Dark Crisis. So Dark Crisis is on our doorstep now. This is going to be the big DC event for the summer. And this is sort of the setup for that. So you've got loads of people working on this, the likes of Joshua Williamson, Dan Jurgens, for example, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Stephanie Phillips, and many more. I mean, when it says and many more, that shows you it really is a big cast. So it all starts here. So again, this is your starting point for Justice League for the Dark Crisis event. Next up is Nice House on the Lake. We have issue 9 now. Again, a title we're very big fans of. We're always talking about. And the first trade, of course, is available with the first 6 issues. But yeah, this is James Tynion IV and Alvaro Martinez Bueno and Jordi Belair in colours. This is a masterpiece. And it's going to finish up at 12. I'd also mentioned Shadow War Omega, so this is the culmination, the cataclysmic conclusion, if you will, to the Shadow War event that Joshua Williamson has been doing. So looking forward to tucking into that. That's been an event I've really enjoyed. Definitely one of the covers of the week, I would venture, is for Carnage number 3. So again, this is from Ram V. Is he coming here soon? And Rose Antonio on art for this one as well. And again, I've been really enjoying Carnage, sort of a serial killer, police investigation, body horror type tale so far. But yeah, been really good stuff. Next up is King Conan. We're up to issue 5 of 6. So this is Jason Aaron, Mahmoud Asrar. This is very much their goodbye to Conan, which of course is now going to be going into the public domain and won't be Marvel exclusive anymore. But this has been a great tale and a fitting conclusion to Jason Aaron's run. Next up, we have Adventure Man. This was actually released last week, but we were short some issues. Got my issues this week, thankfully. So this is issue 9. So this is Matt Fraction and the Dodsons. This has been wonderful stuff. Very pulpy, very noir, very steampunk. Usually done in 4-issue arcs, so there are hardcovers for the first couple of arcs. Another one that was out last week, but again, I only got my copy this week, is Bloodstained Teeth. Well, I say that, I got a variant last week, which was the Martin Simmons one, but I'm a cover A guy as well. So Christian Ward, Patrick Reynolds, and again, we've more copies for the racks as well. A good week is always a week that has a brand new firepower. So Robert Kirkman and Chris Samney, of course, and their Ninja Epic, which has reached issue 21. Geez, where'd that come from? I remember when, pardon me, I remember when Firepower was launching with an original graphic novel and a free comic book day issue. But yeah, wonderful stuff, Firepower. Another one is The Last Book You'll Ever Read. This is a polybag adult variant, if you will. That's just how I've collected this series. This has been really, really fun. It's Cullen Bunn and Layla Lee's, and it's been very dark horror stuff, that to say the least. That's the last issue, so trades will be coming soon. This is one I know absolutely nothing about, but I'll always order a number one, and there are certain publishers at the moment I'm liking their stuff. So this is one called Never Ender. This is from Behemoth Comics, creative team of Kraft, Ikis, and Lou. Issue 1, Neither Violence Nor Peace. So I love me some sci-fi. I'm going to give that a go. I know nothing about it. Once in Future number 26. So again, we're entering the end game, if you will, for Once in Future. So Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, and then Tamara Bonville on colors. And again, one of the best series around. Be sad to see it finish. Righteous Thirst for Vengeance is this week as well. Rick Remender and Andre Lima Araujo's Hitman-based title. Largely Silent, very violent. Largely Silent, very, very violent. That kind of works. Step by Bloody Step number 4. Again, a lot of things ending this week. This is issue 4, and this is the end of this little mini-series from Cy Spurrier and Mateus Bergara. Wonderful. Cannot say enough about it. Get yourself onto the trade waiting list for this. That's going to be one of the books of the year. Walking Dead is this week as well. So we're as far as issue 40. Only another 153 to go. But you don't care when it's this quality. Love me The Walking Dead. Next up we have Demons. Again, I go for the foil covers on this, so I've mentioned them in the variant section. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Jonathan Glapian, Dave Stewart, Tom Neapolitano. Great stuff. What's the furthest place from here? Number 6. This is very well timed, actually, because I'd let a couple of issues of this pile up. And last night I read 3, 4, and 5 back to back. So this is actually going top of my pile this week just because it's so fresh. But this is Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg. Really, really good stuff as well. And then I've just got a few wee bits and pieces. I'll just show you off some variants, I suppose. We don't have any spares of these, but they're just ones that I know that I really like. So you've got We Have Demons by Francesco Francavilla for that one. Can't resist me some Francavilla, despite what Dex said to me. Vicky thinks I'm going down a slight comic porn route, but I just love the artist. Leave me alone. I don't even read this title, but I just collect the covers because I love the artist. The artist is an artist called Shannon Meyer, and thankfully this is the last issue of Vampirella Dracula Unholy, because it's a weird part of my collection, I have to say. We always get these one per store. Once in Future, Dan Mora black and white sketch variants. I've been collecting those since issue 1. Got all of those as well. And then Nice House on the Lake. This is issue 9. This is actually a Kelly Jones variant, so very much is a guy for horror. So yeah, I've been, again, Nice House on the Lake. I've been collecting cover A and cover B, so I have a problem. I turned that problem into a store, so it's all good. So yeah, anyway, that is the Coffee and Hero Show for this week. A 5th anniversary spectacular, if you will. But yeah, as I say, 5 years the store is open. Thanks to every single person who walked through the door. Thanks to everybody who checks this video out or whatever. Anybody that adds anything to this store, a sincere thanks to. So yeah, again, we'll be doing more celebrations more next weekend, just to tie in with the RAM event. And again, there will be some promotions and stuff coming up with that as well. So keep your eye out for that. But in the meantime, I hope you guys are staying safe out there. I hope you enjoyed this as ever. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the store soon. So take it easy.